Hey guys, it's Joshua Reviews. So, Christmas month is winding down. There's like, what, 2 more reviews left? I know, guys, I'm sorry. It's just what happens every year. Christmas month, December, it just comes to a close, and we only got like 2 more reviews. Well, besides this one, guys, we got... Okay, look, last review we did Black Christmas, the original, the amazing Christmas horror classic. But today, we're going to be reviewing a movie that I don't think it's talked about enough. The Black Christmas remake. Not the one from 2019. We're talking about the one from 2006. So, you're probably wondering, how the fuck did you get your hands on a Blu-ray? I want a Blu-ray of this movie. Well, this I got off Etsy. As far as I'm aware, you cannot get this movie on Blu-ray. So if you want a physical copy, you gotta unfortunately ask someone to make it for you. That's how I did it. I spent $20 on this, and believe me, it was worth, well, 25. Let me be precise, because I bought this alongside with the original Super Mario Brothers movie with Bob Hoskins. So, Black Christmas from 2006. Dimension Films. Oh, Dimension Films. This movie has a really troubled production story. I don't want to say it went through like Harvey Weinstein. If you know who they are, if you know who he is, you can imagine what happened. Just look him up if you don't know who he is. Harvey Weinstein. He had a lot to do with some of the production issues. He came on set, demanded they do certain things a certain way against the director's wishes. And the finished product at the time, people did not like it. They hated this film, and it flopped pretty bad at the box. It came out on Christmas Day. And normally for horror movies, especially Scream, that movie came out on Christmas Day. This film did nowhere as near as good as Scream did. It got a very limited Blu-ray release, and you can only really find it on DVD. And I found this movie off a video store that was by my house. It wasn't Blockbuster, it was another video store. And I watched it, and I remember thinking it was just okay when I first saw it. Nothing special. But every year I kept rewatching it. And I don't know why. I just kept rewatching it. And you know what? The more and more I rewatched it, the more I appreciated this film. And lo and behold, I found out not a lot of people liked it when it came out. Personally, I think it's great. I think it's a great remake. It does everything a remake should do, but also does a lot, it does everything a good remake should do. It doesn't repeat the same story, but it has similar story elements from the original, but expands upon it, which is what a remake should do. And what's amazing about this film is the fact that Bob Clark, the director of Christmas Story and the original Black Christmas, he, I believe, was an executive producer. But either way, he worked on this film. He worked on it and gave the filmmakers his blessing on this movie. He was really happy with the direction it was taking, which I don't think a lot of people know about, but I found that out a while back, and that was really nice to hear, because I think this movie is severely underrated. I really like this movie. If you've seen the original Black Christmas, you know the premise. It's a sorority house. A bunch of girls over the course of Christmas weekend, I believe. I forget when it takes place. I think it's over the course of Christmas break. And they receive an anonymous phone call from this guy named Billy, and they're like obscene phone calls. But the difference between this one, this one and the original, is that in this one, it takes place over the course of one evening, while the original film takes place over the course of the weekend. And the original is more of a mystery, while this one is more of like a standard, typical slasher. The original is a slasher, but it's more, it takes its time with its characters and its setup, and it's very atmospheric. It's very ominous and creepy. This one, it just goes for the flashiness, and I kind of appreciate that because normally I wouldn't. Normally, when you do something like that, it kind of ruins what the original, set up. But with this one, I feel like it works, especially for the time period, because you have a lot of remakes that came out during this time period where it's like they didn't really understand the source material. They didn't really understand what made the original so good. But in this case, they wanted to do something different, but also, still pay, homage to the original. And the fact that they had Bob Clark, director of the original, on set, and he gave them their blessing and was happy with the direction it took, that really tells you something about what they were doing with this film. I really adore this film, honestly. I mean, it's not a perfect film, but I adore, okay, I don't want to say, actually, I take that. I don't want to say adore, but I really am impressed with what they were able to accomplish with this film. A lot of the issues people have with this film, I think, are just unjustified and unwarranted. I think a lot of the acting is great, and I think the backstory behind Billy in this one is really interesting. I know in the original, it's more left up to the imagination as to who is Billy? What is this guy? We never get any sort of confirmation or information on what this guy's deal is or who he is or what his backstory. The phone calls in the original were supposed to give indication and little hints and subtle details as to what Billy's backstory was. We don't even know if the guy on the phone is actually named Billy. He just refers to himself as Billy. For all we know, his name could be Chester. I don't fucking know. But in this one, they really play into the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer type I feel like. Like, they really play into the actual backstory, which, if memory serves correctly, don't hold me on this, but I think I heard someone say somewhere that this was the story Bob Clark had intended for the original. Don't hold me to that because that may not be true. So correct me if I'm wrong in the comments for those of you who do watch my videos. But I really like the direction they took with the story for Billy. It's very interesting with his backstory. It's very creative, I'll say that much. Basically, without spoiling anything, Billy kills his family and there's some other stuff, specifically involving incest, which a lot of people did not like and felt that betrayed the original. But if you really go back and listen to the phone calls in the original, I feel like it was always there from the beginning, that that was kind of hinted in the original. Obviously, that may not be the case, and for all I know, that may not be what Bob Clark intended. But nevertheless, I still like the fact that they did something different with Billy's backstory and made it really unique, made it really stand out on its own. You can't tell me there's another horror film out there where the main killer has a skin disease that makes him, what is it, jaundice disease? That makes his skin yellow and kills his family and bakes them into cookies. You can't tell me there's another horror film like that. You just can't. Because I don't think there is one. Unless there is. If there is, I want you guys to leave me in the comments below if you know a film like that. But I really like the fact that they went with a different approach for the backstory. And the one thing I like the most about this film is the lighting and the overall Christmas atmosphere. I've said it before, you'd be surprised how many films I've seen where they just fucking forget about the Christmas, just Christmas. There are a lot of films out there that are Christmas films, but don't have any Christmas atmosphere or lights or just snow. I love the way this film is lit. That's what I want to say. I adore the way this film is lit. It's beautifully shot. You can tell there was so much thought and care put into the way this film was shot and the way everything is lit. There's a lot of effort put into this film. And I feel like a lot of people don't acknowledge how much effort really was put into this film, how much they really cared about honoring the original while also changing things to make this one stand out on its own. I think the film works as its own thing because it's really intense. You have a great setup with the backstory of Billy Loomis. I said Billy Loomis. I'm an idiot. Case in point. I really like the fact that they have this setup and story and this backstory with Billy. I think it's really unique. It's strange, but I like it. I like the fact that they went with something different, you know? It's a really different and unique approach to a killer's backstory. But I really like the fact that they took this different approach. And the fact that the first act is basically set up, but it feels natural, especially with the sisters and the sorority house. All the actors play well off each other. I feel like they feel natural. Their charisma feels real and genuine. It doesn't feel fake. And I also feel like it really is slow for the first act, and then the second act there's more of a mystery to it, and it gets more very intense, and then the last act it's just non-stop chaotic violence, and that's what people had an issue with. I didn't mind it personally. I thought it worked because to me it fit well with the story they were trying to tell. In my opinion, I know a lot of people didn't feel like it worked. In fact, I know a lot of people hated the twist at the end, which I won't spoil because I do like this film. If it's a movie I didn't like, I would spoil the fuck out of it. But nonetheless, I really like the twist that they went with the end. There was also a surprisingly pretty well done red herring in the middle of the part. What am I saying? In the middle of the film. And yeah, you got a really good setup. You got a really slow but mysterious, middle act, and then at the very end it becomes flashy and violent. Anyways, I really like the fact that at the end the killer just really goes full psycho, and it really works for me. Honestly, a lot of this film really works for me. I do have some issues. I do feel like the movie really goes by fast, and I don't really feel like, as much as I like the characters and their charisma together, and you get a real good sense of who they are, I don't really feel like we spend a lot of time with them, and we get to actually know them, know their backstory. But they work well enough off each other to really okay, I get an understanding for who they are, and they work well off each other, and they are likable characters. I just wish we could have spent more time with them individually. You know what I mean? Surprisingly, they make pretty smart decisions, and for a slasher film, I gotta appreciate that. Honestly, I don't have any fucking clue why this film is regarded as one of the worst horror remakes to come out in the early 2000s. I don't get that. I don't get it at all. And I'm really happy that a lot of people are starting to, come out and appreciate this film for how good it really is. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. And a part of me is kind of biased because I do love the original, and I think that they paid tribute to the original in a good enough way. But if Bob Clark says he likes it and gave them his blessing, then by golly, I'm inclined to agree. I'm gonna give this movie a name. Bite me. If you can, pick this movie up on Blu-ray on Etsy. Damn it.